Orange and blue today with a scorcher of a topic and a countdown to go with it. And of course, if we're doing a countdown, Mace, that means
You know what? I was actually thinking something. A few nights ago, I needed something on in the background, right?
right.
And YouTube has a wealth of old sports stuff. Somehow I got to watching the putt-putt championships from 1974. And it had a jaunty little theme. And I'm like, I wonder what different vibe our show would have if it had the putt-putt championships theme from 1974, which means I got to go find that, cut it up, and put it on social media. It's kind of happy, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of happy.
Ooh, that was an abrupt cutoff there. Whoa, wow.
It's supposed to fade out, but we will fade in or jump in to orange and blue today. Today, talking about Spencer Rattler. Why is keeping picks, trading back, getting more picks? And I believe Spencer Rattler will be early day 3. Okay, I'm saying 4th round. If he goes 3rd round, don't at me, bro. But why is that maybe the best plan for the Broncos, Mace?
The logic for that is you take advantage of a deep tackle class, a deep edge class, or you get Brock Bowers. Like if Brock Bowers, a tight end from Georgia, and I know there are some that are going to argue, okay, positional value on tight end isn't the best. Well, here's the thing, though. Tight ends like Brock Bowers are exceptionally hard to find, right? And effectively you treat him like a wide receiver, what you would expect from a wide receiver, right? So that's why you would do it. Like you say, okay, do we want QB4 or even QB5 at 12? Or do we want offensive tackle 2, edge rusher 2, tight end 1? All of these would be options that fill a need for the Broncos. And oh, by the way, Sean Payton may actually favor developing a quarterback, although he's never had the chance to develop a first-round quarterback. And we saw, of course, the rumblings today, according to Vikings radio announcer Paul Allen talking, spoke with somebody who's a reliable source, said that Sean Payton loves J.J. McCarthy. So.
Yeah, we're going to get into McCarthy. In fact, we might do a McCarthy show all about him tomorrow, but it's about Spencer Rattler today. And first and foremost, I'll get your opinion. I already said what mine was, but we've got after the Senior Bowl and, varying degrees of what he did there. But there were some saying like Spencer Rattler's moved his way into the first round. That's not going to happen.
No,
that's not going to happen. Maybe second, maybe it's a Colin Kaepernick, Andy Dalton type of situation, Derek Carr type of situation, maybe Mace. But again, I think he's a day 3 pick. And if you're the Broncos, you better hope he's not a second because you don't have a 2nd round pick.
Right. I think the question is there a universe where Spencer Rattler goes ahead of Michael Penix Jr.? That's something I would not dismiss as a possibility. Again, we talk about the medicals for Michael Penix Jr. all the time. Mm-hmm. Depending on those, if they come back negatively, along with some other critiques and I think maybe some concerns that have risen out of the national championship game performance, then yeah, there's that kind of universe. I'd say this again, the overall body of work favors Michael Penix Jr., but Spencer Rattler is healthier. And one thing you can say for Spencer Rattler is he is ascending. He ascended during Senior Bowl week. I thought he was the most improved quarterback from the beginning of the week to the end of the week. His first day was terrible. Mm-hmm. Terrible. Made some really poor decisions out there. Got better as the week went on. That's something that you watch for. I'm not saying he's Josh Allen, but that's what Josh Allen did when he was down there. He got better. And Spencer Rattler, after having a really frustrating start to his college career at Oklahoma and ultimately losing the starting job, quietly, in the national perspective, rebuilt himself at South Carolina, especially this past season.
Right. This past season, the difficulty with Spencer Rattler is projecting, can he be more than what he was this last year? He certainly didn't flash as much as he did years ago, whatever that was, 2020, as a young collegiate quarterback where people were thinking generational talent with Spencer Rattler. Well, this past season was better, but evaluators I talked to, Mace, think that might be it. This might be who he is. And again, that's okay. That's Kirk Cousins himself. What, a fourth
Mhm.
round pick? So,
Yeah.
are we talking about Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott? Well, yeah, maybe we might with Spencer Rattler.
I mean, in draft placement, that's where he is. Skill set wise, I don't think he's definitely not Kirk Cousins. I think he's more in line with where Dak Prescott was coming out, which is somebody who can operate in the pocket, but is going to have to grow more as a pocket passer. Kirk Cousins was more ready made as a pocket passer. Spencer Rattler, I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to be at that level. But one of Sean Payton's great success stories was Tony Romo. Tony Romo was undrafted. I would argue if he got a hold of Spencer Rattler and Rattler was willing to listen, and I think he will. That's another thing about his arc at his college career. He went from somebody who, frankly, did not come across very well when he was the number one recruit in the United States of America, coming into Oklahoma. Someone who didn't come across very well to somebody who I think we talked with him down at the Senior Bowl. Someone who appeared to have a very good head on his shoulders, someone who'd matured, someone who was humble. And he even talked to other people. They mentioned this elsewhere when he was doing another interview, talked about humility as something that he had learned and that had grown, that he felt was something in which he'd grown over the course of his time. And humility usually comes with failure. And he failed at Oklahoma. Ultimately had to transfer to South Carolina. I mean, Oklahoma, it was supposed to be the dream scenario, the number one recruit in the country, going to work with Lincoln Riley, and if I'm sure there are people who did 2023 mock drafts several years ago and said, "Oh, Spencer Rattler in 2023 is going to be the number one overall pick."
Right.
Didn't work out that way. It would actually be interesting if the Broncos did draft him, because Jarrett Stidham is another guy who, at one point, heading into his last couple of years at Auburn, some thought he might be the number one overall pick too.
Right. And people may not believe that, but that it happened. I seen it.
It happens.
Jarrett Stidham's last season at Auburn was not good. Sam Howell. We'll bring up Sam Howell. Again, another quarterback that we liked in the fifth round, in day 3. So Spencer Rattler there, you mentioned him learning, and I love the humility. I got more on that in a little bit, but let's talk about his flaws on the field. He locks on his targets almost all the time. I don't know how you can coach that out of him, because usually you and I are talking about what, Mace? Full field reads.
Yeah.
I don't see Spencer Rattler on film making full field reads consistently. So can that something in your eyes be coached into him? He's going to be very receptive to coaching, but can he overcome that flaw?
It will take time and patience. I mean, I think also you are also dealing with quarterback who, while he faced pro talent in the Southeastern Conference, does not come from out of a scheme that is incredibly analogous to what he's going to be doing in the NFL. It's the long game with him. Look, I'd say any of these quarterbacks, when you're talking about them being late day 2 into day 3, it's a long game proposition. It's 2 years of development time, which means you better have a really sturdy bridge, more sturdy than you have right now. And even then, you don't know. I mean, and this is another thing. When you draft a quarterback day 2 into day 3, you can't, unless there are clear signs. Until that happens, you can't. Until that happens, you can't go in and say, okay, this is our entire future and that's it. You have to cultivate multiple possibilities, right? A mistake the Broncos made in 2020, Drew Locke, after 5 starts, saying he's the guy, and we don't need to go look at quarterbacks this year. We don't need to move up and get Justin Herbert, who they loved.
John Elway loved him.
Yes. If Justin Herbert had come out in 2019, I believe he would have been a Denver Bronco. But he elected to go back to Oregon for one final year to play with his brother. Hey, can't blame him, right? I mean, and had a year that kept him near the top of the draft. And because of that, the Broncos, 5 starts in, thought, let's give Drew Locke a whirl. Is what it is.
And here we are today, and you can see in the chat room the comments and the opinions on Spencer Rattler very wildly. But I think it's part of the conversation. One, because of him, Mace, you mentioned how he fought back the humility. For me personally, I appreciate players who have been through the crucible. Football ends for all of us someday. And when football is almost taken away from you, or you are embarrassed on such a large stage, and we're talking, he's the guy, right? And when I was 18, I was a moron. Some people would say I'm still that, but like, okay, you're 18, you're going to act a little differently. Now, at what is he now? 22, whatever he is, like, he's going to be more mature. And I appreciate the humility that he's had from failure. Failure will either crush you or make you work 10 times harder. With Rattler, it's the latter.
Exactly. That's almost a rhyme. Rattler. It's the latter.
It's the latter.
Yes. It's almost a rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think, seeing some of the comments that popped on the screen here, and please, and if I'm mistaking this out there for those of you watching, please let me know. Is it an objection to Rattler, or is it an objection to a day 2 or day 3 quarterback? Right? Because I get the sentiment of saying, let's just get a first rounder. Let's get, especially in the top half of the first round. I mean, if you move up 2 picks, and if it's JJ McCarthy, you might have to move up, and because that was part of the discussion going on from the Minnesota end of it today. If Minnesota moves on from Kirk Cousins, you've seen some mocks out there that had JJ McCarthy going to the Vikings. If you want JJ McCarthy, you may have to make a trade up, not all the way to the top 3, but you may have to consider trying to get up to 6 or 7, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The range where you'll have to give up something of value, but maybe not Pat Surtain. Fortunately, you don't want to give up Pat Surtain. So anyway, I believe that maybe, and again, if I'm misreading this, please comment in whether it's live or in the comment section on YouTube, Facebook, whatever. I believe some of the objection is that a lot of people in Broncos country, they just want a quarterback that Sean Payton picks and is prioritized and is the future. So no matter what happens this year, it's like, okay, we got this guy. We're developing this guy, Sean Payton. He's never worked with a rookie first rounder, but look what he did with Kerry Collins when he was on the scrap heap. Look what he did even with Jameis Winston. Look what he did with Drew Brees, taking him to the next level. Look what he did with Tony Romo. I trust Sean Payton to get the most out of a first round quarterback with first round talent. Right.
Yep.
So I do get that sentiment. I think that's perfectly fair. Yes. The Broncos have literally tried everything post Peyton Manning, but a top half of the first round pick. They've tried and there is a difference between top half of the first round and back half of the first round. That is proven over time.
1000%. And sewn into the conversation, Mace, is this. I think it's just patience. It's an objection to day 2, day 3 quarterback, but it's also an objection to more time. We have to wait longer now for the Broncos to be halfway decent because their rookie quarterback, Spencer Rattler, is going to take some time. Well, here's the thing.
JJ McCarthy might take time too.
He's going to take time. And he might take a year. Rattler might take 2 years. But either way, patience. You might get a spoonful. I don't know. You have to do the choo-choo-choo or the airplane, right? Bzzz, open up. Here it comes. It's patience. Boom. You might have to eat it this year. Sorry.
How do we define eat it record wise? 6-11?
6-7 wins, something like that.
You know what? But here's the thing. If it's a 6-win season, but you find out whether it's through development on the field, but you have a plan. I think that's another thing. People want a plan, right?
Right.
A plan. And that plan to be clearly conveyed, right? And get expectations in line. Now, the thing is, the Broncos, they're going to want to be competitive while they're doing this because it's part of establishing a winning culture, right? But if this season ends with having a better idea who the long-term quarterback is, saying, okay, we go 6-11, but boy, we got high hopes because we've got this kid coming up and he's going to be sensational. He's going to be ready. Then you're feeling pretty good, right?
Right. And I think this draft is a real field draft. Like you want the right guy, but man, you want the right feel. Now, Fallen Angels says this on YouTube. Do you like Rattler over Nix? No. Bo Nix will be a first round pick. Rattler, in my opinion, is a day 3 pick. Rattler, you're starting almost from scratch mechanically. Mechanically, you have a lot to clean up. He does throw off his back foot. He does have some arm arrogance. And like I said, he locks onto his reads. Knicks, you have less mechanically to fix in order to, get him ready as a starter. So for me personally, Mace, it's Knicks way ahead of Rattler. How about you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a reason why we're talking about Rattler late day 2 into day 3. I would even say for Sean Payton specifically, I like Michael Pratt better than Spencer Rattler. But again, if you are we're going to live in this universe here where maybe the Broncos go in another direction in the first round, and it's possible they may do that. That's the thing. I mean, it may disappoint Broncos country, but it's possible that first round ends without a quarterback coming in here.
Yep.
So what does that look like, and what are options that will allow that sort of philosophy to work, right? That's that's really what I think we're really looking at here and seeing if this can blossom. Let's actually, let's hear from Spencer Rattler, because we got a clip. And I asked him a few weeks ago, if a team asks, hey, what are the areas of your game in which you need to work on at the next level? What would those be? What would you tell a team? Here's what he had to say.
Just never get complacent in anything. Always can get better at film study. Always can tighten up, pocket movement, footwork, and, just decision making, everything. I want to not get complacent in any part of my game. But I feel like I've taken major strides in these last few years, and, and I'm happy with where I'm at.
I thought his humility came through there as well, and that's,
very much so. Yeah.
If you watch QB1 a few years ago, this is a guy who sounds different, acts different, comes across different than he did then. But you know what? It's as simple as growing up, right? He wasn't a finished product then. He's not a finished product now.
So who's here to finish it? Is it Sean Payton to develop him? Could it be part of a draft plan? Let's say he falls further than you and I think, right? Let's say in a Carson Strong type of way. Although Strong, it was because he had bad knees. But let's say he goes
cartilage, right? He had
seventh round. But you've taken JJ McCarthy. Let's say you go Spencer Rattler's there in the 7th round. You taking 2 quarterbacks?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yes,
heck yeah.
Of course. The answer should always be 2 quarterbacks. The answer should always be 2 quarterbacks.
Absolutely. I mean,
why do people rebel against that then? Oh, if you get McCarthy, great. But I got the cheese pizza in the trunk. It's the Tommy boy. You don't get the chicken wings. You got the cheese pizza. Well, you got the chicken wings and the cheese pizza.
Well, here's the other thing. You get to day 3, you ought to be thinking less about positions and more about value. And if you've got, I don't care what your quarterback situation is. If you've got a round 3 grade on Spencer Rattler and he's sitting there in the 7th round, but you trust your grades and you trust your board, make the frickin' pick, right? Okay. Or if you don't have that pick, make sure you get that guy, you get that guy undrafted. I mean, a reason why Thomas Incoon, who, barely played this year, but a reason why he stuck on the 53 and wasn't put on waivers. The Broncos did not want to risk him because he was an undrafted signee, a priority undrafted signee, but they saw him as a mid-round talent who just happened to be available. But they kept, in their perception of him and their evaluation of him, it was mid-round level, and they felt like if they cut him, if they waived him, he would not pass through waivers, he wouldn't come back, right? So that's an example of trusting your board. They had a high grade on Alex Forsyth as well, another guy who was sitting there. Right. Our friend Emery Hunt had him as his number 1 center last year, right?
Yep.
I think that was a stretch, but but yes, Alex Forsyth, another guy higher on the Broncos board than a lot of people had him. And yeah, did they need another center? Probably not. But in round 6, round 7, if you're picking for need, you're doing it wrong. You pick the best player and you figure it out, right? Because day 3, for better or for worse, you are throwing darts. You just are. So get the best talent. And if Spencer Rattler's sitting there in round 6, I don't care if you pick J.J. McCarthy
Sam Howell all over
round
again.
1. I'm saying, fine, take him, right? If he's somehow fallen to that point, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Just make the pick, add another quarterback, figure out the rest later.
It is orange and blue today.
This isn't that hard. It isn't that hard. Just get the best talent. Oh, by the way, on top of that, if you're picking if the best player on the board, a player of great value, happens to be a quarterback, the most important position where you should never scrimp, that says a lot. Like, you can hear what the dogs think of that, right? The dogs
love it.
off in the distance. They're on board, right? By the way, look how, like, when I get going, look at how, like, I shake my iPad.
Okay, careful. Bit. Don't mess with the camera angle.
Yeah, easy, Macy. Oh yeah, the next thing that's gonna happen is on my little brace that I've got here on my tripod. It's gonna fall over, and it's and next thing you're gonna see my legs. You're gonna see my Jordans down here.
Okay,
my kicks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Always appreciate the
We
kicks.
got a question.
Sports Cult says, which one of these quarterbacks do you believe could have the most success under a Sean Payton system? We've talked about this before, so we'll do a quick recap. And again, we're going to be boots on the ground in Indianapolis next week. It is huge for JJ McCarthy. Show coming on JJ tomorrow, but like next week is so big. But we've told people who we believe could be the best under Sean Payton. It's Drake May.
Drake May.
Drake May. Your answer is Drake May. You're not getting Caleb Williams, so your answer is Drake May.
Yes. But following that, like, who's next?
It might be Michael Pratt.
Pratt, or I do think it could be McCarthy, but McCarthy is the biggest projection.
Mm-hmm.
But does he have traits that can translate? Yes. He needs to become more accurate. Like, this is like something that you'll spend a lot of time working on him. And oh, by the way, we talked about this on the show last weekend. You bring in Pete Carmichael and you keep everybody else on your coaching staff. You got a lot of you are in position. You have so many coaches that you can tell Davis Webb or Pete Carmichael or Joe Lombardi, hey, your job, this young quarterback. You know, we're giving, if it's JJ McCarthy, we're giving you a talented lump of clay that you've got to mold, right? And smooth out the rough spots, like his accuracy, right?
Right. Yep.
But you can do that.
Can you do it?
Do that.
They can.
And it's not like we're talking about he's an inaccurate quarterback. We're not talking about that. He's above the threshold. Like,
yes,
that's,
and for me, it's pass placement along with accuracy, because we know college numbers can be inflated by screen passes.
He's got some beautiful placement.
He does.
Outside
he doesn't do it very often.
Yes.
Sometimes he'll throw in front of that safety, behind the corner. Like, sometimes he'll be beautiful, man. He just doesn't do it very often. As I go snowflake on you from Clerks. It's beautiful, man.
Oh my gosh.
Don't finish that reference.
Ugh.
Somewhere Joey's like, what are these old guys talking about, Clerks?
Well,
what is that?
Are there 37 better quarterbacks in the world than JJ McCarthy?
No, not when I'm drinking. Not when I'm drinking Gatorade. Okay? Not when I'm drinking. Gatorade. Be very clear. It's Gatorade.
So are we saying, does he say, I'm 37?
I'm 37 in a row? Anyway.
Hey, try not to on the way through the parking lot.
Try your pass placement on the way through the parking lot. Anyway. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. We will do a JJ McCarthy show tomorrow, Mace. Any final thoughts as we tie bow on today's show?
Final thoughts.
You can consider Spencer Rattler. That's my final thought. It's like, this isn't, people are saying, you guys crazy? No, we're considering all options.
And considering the notion the Broncos may not go quarterback at 12, because their work is far from done. I mean, the process accelerates next week. You get to the combine, you get a chance to sit down with these players, get them at the whiteboard. You start learning some things, right? And then you start evaluating how the board's going to look. How do you have to trade up? If so, how many picks? Do you have to be prepared for others to usurp you? Yeah, you do. That being said, I would say, even though you can find help at other positions and get an intriguing quarterback late.
Yeah, you can get an intriguing quarterback later as Mace drops off. How about now? How about get your quarterback now? Hi, Mace.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. I say get it in round one when you're look. There's a long
You're here.
history that tells you your odds. Your odds are better in the first half of the first round. There's a long history that shows that. I mean, yeah, I know people hate using Pro Bowls as a metric, but it is something. There aren't many quantifiable metrics you can use because like, oh, were they a good team? Blah blah blah. But you can use Pro Bowls, you can use All Pros, you can use team accomplishments, right? And how many years they were a good start? They were a good starter. And frankly, and your odds are your best odds of finding that person are in the first half of the first round. Okay, everyone talks about Brock Purdy, Tom Brady. They're outliers. They're outliers. And oh, by the way, you have the number 12 overall pick in a quarterback-rich draft. I do believe in the end 5 quarterbacks off the board in round 1. Okay.
Yes.
So,
and are you going to be above 12 next year? No. You're going to be about 10, 12, 15 next year. So why wait? Why you can just get a quarterback next year? You're not going to be number 1. You're not going to be number 2 next year. You're not going to be number 5 next year. You're probably going to be number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Somewhere in there.
Every indication is you're not looking at 5 quarterbacks in the first round next year.
No.
Okay. 2. I mean, but okay, let's say Shedeur Sanders, right? That's well and good.
Yeah, he's number 1 overall.
Are you prepared to tank? Yes. Are you prepared to tank for Shedeur Sanders?
Right.
And again, let's live in the realm of reality. A Sean Payton team is not going to tank. Last year would have been the perfect opportunity at 1-5, right?
And he could have done it to prove a point to get Caleb Williams, the guy he said you should have a draft lottery for because teams would tank for a guy like that. He could have done it to be spiteful.
He is not wired that way, folks.
Nope.
And they could have kept doing what they were doing early in the season on offense, where they were moving the ball, but they had some short possessions, and they had too many turnovers, right? And he said, no, we're going to constrict this. We're going to dial it back in. We're going to play to what Russell Wilson can do right now. And all of a sudden, they started protecting the ball, and they started winning games, right? That's
what happened.
The way Sean Payton is wired and his ability to solve problems, and that's an underrated strength of his. Solving problems and having a team that is strong at the margins, strong on special teams, more disciplined than most on the field, right? They showed it this year. They stole some games that they weren't winning the past several years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I look at the Broncos with Sean Payton, folks. I think 6 or 7 wins is as bad as it's going to get. They're not going to bottom out and have a top 5 pick. It's just not going to happen. So you're sitting here at number 12. There are 5 first-round quarterbacks. There's a distinct possibility at least 1, if not 2, are going to be there. And if only 1 is there, the other one won't take a huge back-breaking deal to move up and get. We're talking about going from 12 to 7, right? Or 12 to 6. This is the time. This is the time to do it.
Now is the time to wrap up the show. But we'll be back tomorrow with the JJ McCarthy show. Mace, let's get him out of here with our YouTube thing, our Hans and Franz thing. Ready?
Yes.
Comment,
share,
subscribe, hit the notification bell
so that you never miss
a vid. That's right. He's Andrew Mason.
We were saying shared. I thought for a moment it was going to be like
the shared moment. Yes, we'll have plenty of those coming up for you.
We shared a moment. Here. We shared a moment over 37 today.
That we did.
Again,
all right.
No, if you're below 40, I don't think you're getting that probably.
No,
unless someone has shown you.
Yes, that's for sure. Joey, go watch Clerks. Anyway, he's Mace. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey. Orange and Blue today. OBT is BFD. We thank you. Stay tuned. And as always, please, would you stay frosty?